yes, I shortened that. I want to try and get through this quick because I have plans in about 15 minutes. So, after watching several of the videos that I watched regarding the truth of events between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, I then came across her speech from just 2 years ago, just from 2020, at the Women's March or Women's Rally. What was it again? The Women's March 2020, yes, in Los Angeles. Yeah, Amber Heard spoke of this. In fact, she was, I guess, expected or planned to lead the parade or whatever, the march in the morning. But as you can see, when she comes out on stage, she has this big cast on her foot. So instead, they allowed her to say a few words instead. Wow. I'd be feeling like a fucking idiot right about now if I were any of the organizers for this shit. Anyways, here we go.
But instead, they let me say a few words. But first of all, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you to everyone that's here.
Not very loud. I don't know why.
Here. It's an honor. It's an honor to join the chorus, to be among the many powerful voices here to represent the wave of change we have seen sweep this country, the world, by fire. That is why I am so honored to stand here with you all now, to join in this great collection of voices, dedicated to not only realizing the tremendous power we possess when we come together, but to do so with the unprecedented strength and power we've acquired through our combined commitment and relentless dedication. We are here to make sure we recognize all the power we have when we come together, all the progress we made in doing so, and to recognize how much we still have to go to see that full equality is a reality for all of us, in the home and at work, in our schools and in the boardrooms, in our pay and our physical safety, in public and in private, in principle and in practice, no matter our age, our race, creed, color, or class.
She's saying this shit is a privileged, entitled white woman in LA who has defamed and dragged a man for years now. This is kind of infuriating.
A few years ago, I, like you, awoke to a world that was starting to catch flame. It started slowly. I arose from my bed one day, a few years into my own private battle, and I smelled the smoke. I had for years walked with tired and weary feet into battle every single day, alone, privately, longing for a different kind of world than the one in which I used to live. One that reminded me that despite all that I had done and fought for, all I had said and survived before and through my very public, heart-wrenchingly lonely battle for justice, that I, a woman, would never truly see it. That my voice couldn't fully count. That despite what it took for me to stand up and finally raise my voice and to speak my truth, it didn't really matter. The deck was stacked against me in ways I couldn't even begin to imagine. I learned what many women inherently know before they reach adulthood, that in my speaking out, instead of aid, support, respect, I would be met instead with hostility, skepticism, and shame. My motives would be questioned, my truth ignored, and I would do so alone. That world reminded me daily, despite the privileged life I lived as a white woman in the entertainment industry, despite the tremendous luxuries enjoyed by many of us women and otherwise traditionally marginalized groups in the Western developed world, despite all the steps taken and earned by generations before us, that I was never to be anything but a discreetly silenced second-class citizen. That I, in having stood up against the time-honored legacy of a male-dominated power structure, somehow forfeited that perceived privilege in exchange for a seemingly endless life of relentless struggle, denial, shame, and aloneness.
An entitlement.
That is the price many of us know we have to make in raising our voices. And that's why so many of us don't speak up. We know intuitively, long before we are old enough to vote, that kind of freedom isn't really ours unless we accept that condition. That freedom from us comes at all too high a price: our voice. And I, for one, think silence and acceptance is simply too damn high a price to pay.
She's loving it. They're right there.
With democracy, we can price to pay.
Right after the applause, you're going to hear one girl go, "Whoa!" And then just look at her face. It's right there for a split second. You see it. You see the duper's delight. She's loving it.
Along with democracy, we get the concept of freedom of speech from the Greeks, who said parrhesia,
Oh, Jesus
which means
Christ.
not simply freedom of speech per se, but rather fearless speech. The freedom to speak truth to power.
Oh my God.
Freedom to speak truth to power. And to me, that is freedom. That is equality. When we no longer have to forfeit our dignity, our respect, or our safety in order to do just that. Then a flame was ignited, and it caught the world on fire. And I am here today in that to join my voice with yours in recognizing that times are changing. And they are changing because we stepped out of the shadows and into the light and lifted our voices into a movement, recognizing that we together, standing shoulder to shoulder, comprise a vast, unstoppable force for change, no longer willing or able to accept silence and no longer willing or able to pay the cost for anything less. You,
Jesus Christ,
like me, see yourself not as a victim to this world, but rather as a member of it, of a growing class of women, people, committed to our place in the fight for a new one. You, like me, awoke to a world that was and is changing and was changing fast. I woke up to the smell of smoke and the sound of voices. I walked with tired feet into the stream of moving cries for change, chanting a battle cry that lingers still today, a song of a new era.
Her speech
This
is even
the song
movie
of a new
lines.
generation of voices, minds, of people, daughters of a generation of equality. We have inherited far too much to be resigned to accept injustice, and together we are far too strong to excuse it any longer. I want to thank you all today for being here and being a part of changing our world. I want to thank every one of you who wakes up and looks for the flame and the sounds of chanting and thinks, yes, fuck yes. Enough is enough. Time's up. Me too. Our lives matter. It is worth fighting for a world where things are better, where things are more fair for everyone.
Jesus Christ.
People like who I am honored to stand here and welcome to the stage next. West Hollywood Mayor Pro Tempore Lindsay Horvath, a warrior for civic and social justice. She has spearheaded policies to better serve residents of all ages and created the West Hollywood Community Response Team for Domestic Violence.
And with one speech, Amber just burnt that shit to the ground.
Is a leader on women's issues, leading a global campaign to end violence against women and girls. She also champions for LGBTQ rights and represented the city of West Hollywood in the National Equality March in Washington, D.C. In short, she's a badass. And she is working tirelessly to make our communities safer, healthier, and more inclusive. Please welcome Mayor Pro Tempore Lindsay Horvath. Let's hear it again for Amber. What's up, love?
The one bit of solace I can take from this is the size of the crowd was actually pretty substantial. Like, I wouldn't quite call it massive, but it wasn't small by any means. And then to hear the sound of the crowd when Amber left, even when the mayor just said, hey, let's hear it for Amber. Like, it's like even then in 2020, most of the women in this crowd kind of already knew Amber was full of shit. Unfortunately, there were a small few there who still kept applauding and screaming for her bullshit. And, you know, it's shit like this. It's people like her who prove the misogynist right. Both male and female ones. Like, it's people like Amber who prove them right. It's people like Amber that are used for their argument time and time again. And they're not wrong. They exploit it and they manipulate it, sure. But pointing out that there are some bitches out here who are going to lie is not wrong. What an asshole. Anyway. So, yeah. But I have to say, though, I hope that the Women's March just kind of brushes themselves off from this whole fiasco and just maybe, I don't know, consults with maybe just the public opinion on some people going forward. Because, I mean, by 2020, I had heard how much of her claims were bullshit. I just didn't know the specifics or the details. I just heard that the majority of the public opinion was like, yeah, Amber Heard's a liar. Okay. So surely the women behind this Women's March had to have been kind of read in or clued into some of, at least whether or not it's true that she was a liar, but at the very least that it's true that people believed her to be a liar, women included. And I hope that they just look at this as maybe just they drop the ball a little bit here and they dust themselves off and they move forward. Oh, sorry, hit the microphone. And they move forward and they just have wonderful marches from here on out, because otherwise it would mean that Amber Heard took him down, and that's unacceptable. So, But man, I'd be so embarrassed right now if I were Amber. But yeah. Okay. So anyways, there's that. And I'm going to be pulling up a few other videos and doing commentary on them, just not right now, but I don't know, over the next few days. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Bye.